Sometimes Christmas brings the messes to the surface, stuff that's already been going on. We try to fix and control things as quickly as possible so that everything stays in order. We try to manage the mess, manage our image, manage our expectations, manage relationships, manage behavior. The list can go on and on and on. We all have our ways of managing the mess, especially during the holidays. The good news is that what we're going to talk about today is not only helpful in the areas where we try to manage messes, it's helpful in all other areas of life as well. Well, the first 4 books of the New Testament are called the Gospels. They are the accounts of Jesus' life when he lived on this earth amongst humanity. So if we want to see what God is like, all we have to do is look at Jesus. Matthew is the first gospel, and it records what happened after Jesus was born. Let me break it down for you like this. The traditional Christmas story. That's chapter 1. Today we're going to turn to the page that's chapter 2. In fact, literally chapter 2 of Matthew starts by saying this: after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod. So, now we learn about the guy who's in charge when Jesus was born, King Herod. Verse 1 continues, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." So, some wise men came to town. When they show up, they want to know where the Messiah is. The Messiah is the leader of the Jewish people, and the Jewish people had been waiting for that Messiah, that he would come and solve all of their problems and help them break free from the people that ruled over them. Jesus is that Messiah, and he came for all people. In fact, after Jesus came to earth, lived, died, and came back to life, one of his earliest followers explained all of this way. In his very nature, he was God. Jesus was equal with God, but Jesus doesn't take advantage of that fact. Instead, he made himself nothing. He did this by taking the nature of a servant. He was made just like human beings. King Jesus came with humility in order to help us. In the book of Matthew, the story continues. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed. By this, Matthew means the news of another king being born. Just like that, the current king is threatened. Herod was in charge, and now there was competition. There can't be 2 kings. The last thing Herod wanted to do was lose control. His control of the kingdom, his future, his wealth, and his power. So he panicked. Before we judge, let's all admit that in some ways, we do that as well. We try to manage the mess, and when we feel like we're losing control of what's going on around us, we don't like it. Herod started slowly unraveling. He went to the wise men with a sneaky plan. He sent them to Bethlehem. He said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I may too go and worship him." Herod obviously had no desire to worship Jesus. He would have immediately had Jesus killed once he was found. Now, I want to be really clear. I know Herod's example is extreme, but here is something in his story we cannot miss. Herod represents what happens when we try to be Lord of our own lives. When we think that following Jesus is about losing ourselves, it can begin to feel threatening. But when we realize that Jesus came so that we could finally have real joy, peace, hope, and love, everything begins to change. Think of it this way. You weren't meant to be the one that keeps it all together. But that's what makes Christmas so powerful. It's not about us keeping things together in our own power, but about relying on Jesus' power. But what could that look like in the middle of any mess that we're currently facing? Well, here's a couple ideas. First, loosen your grip. Second, trust the King who humbled himself before all of us. So loosen your grip and surrender control and trust the King who humbled himself before us. In a perfect world, all the messes would just go away. This Christmas, We have a God who is right there with us in the middle of the mess. I need you to remember that you weren't meant to be the one to hold everything together.